Welcome to the deep dive. Get ready to step into a rather specific corner of England where you've got this grand estate, a young boy with a, let's say, rebellious spirit, and an unexpected turning point that just converges to create this chain reaction. It throws everyone and everything into, well, quite delightful disarray.
Absolutely. And this deep dive takes us through a really fascinating stack of sources, all centered around young Bealby. He's a boy whose refusal, really, to follow the expected path triggers this series of events that just ripple outward, affecting lives high and low.
Right. So our mission here is to unpack the material you've shared, following Bealby's impromptu holiday from the life he was supposed to have. We'll trace his journey, explore the surprising cast of characters he bumps into.
Yes.
And really pull out the key insights, those hidden depths and unexpected connections that surface when, carefully laid plans completely unravel. So let's dive straight in, starting at the estate itself.
Shonts. Okay, Shonts. It's presented as really the epitome of English opulence. You have to imagine this grand facade, imposing towers, a sweeping marble pond, terraces with peacocks strutting about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there are black and white swans on a lower lake, a huge park, a long formal avenue, beautiful views across the river. It's a place just steeped in wealth and history. It even hosted famous art, though some key pieces, like a Velázquez, well, they're long gone.
It sounds like a world just built on tradition, on expectation. And our way into this world is young Bealby, whose background is, well, pretty far removed from all that grandeur. He's the stepson of Mr. Darling, the gardener.
That's right.
And the clear plan, the path set by his stepfather and his mother, is for him to start service at the big house, specifically as a steward's boy.
But here's where the story takes its first unexpected turn. While his mother's making a steak and kidney pie, Bealby just voices this sudden, absolute rejection of this future. The source paints it really vividly. His face is hot, hair ruffled, hands shoved defiantly in his pockets.
Right.
It's exactly the opposite of how he's meant to behave. He declares he's simply not going, not till you're blue in the face.
And he has these other dreams bubbling up, doesn't he? Things like being an engine driver, a soldier, or a sailor. But how does his family react to those?
Oh, with swift dismissal. Total dismissal. Mr. Darling just scoffs at the soldier idea. Oof, swatty. His mother's equally unimpressed by the sailor ambition, point out his weak stomach.
Right.
For them, the decision is made. His little box is packed. He's going into service. That's it. End of story.
And they make sure he understands there are consequences. Mr. Darling threatens to take him by the collar and the slack of his breeches.
Yeah, not messing around.
So Bealby goes. He walks alone across the park, but inside, he's anything but compliant. His heart is described as a coal of fire. He sees the world as a rotten show, and he's muttering defiance even to the deer, convinced they're jolly well mistaken if they think he'll put up with this.
And his arrival at the steward's room just confirms all his worst fears. There's this immediate clash with Mr. Murgilson and Thomas. When Bealby refuses to be a blooming servant, Murgilson tells him to, and Thomas smacks him on the head.
Ouch!
And Bealby's response, he bites Thomas hard, earns himself the name Dirty Little Kicker. So this isn't the start of a promising career path.
Okay.
It's really the start of a rebellion.
And his first day sounds exactly like what he dreaded.
Yeah.
Menial, boring duties, waiting on upper servants, polishing boots.
Yeah, and he makes it clear he deliberately did everything badly. Forgetting duties was, like, his main goal. His only brief moment of connection is making a kitchen maid giggle by pulling faces behind Mr. Murgilson's back.
But underneath this sort of performance of incompetence, his mind is actually really active. He's plotting.
Oh, yes. He keeps this penny pocketbook, logging all his grievances, pages dedicated to Murgilson and Thomas. Thomas, his immediate enemy, racks up multiple black crosses. He even thinks about arson or poison. He specifically wants poison with a medieval manner, something that would inflict suffering before death. This isn't just, childish sulking. It's deep, vengeful anger brewing.
And it's this internal seething that puts him on, a direct collision course with events happening 2 floors up, where Lady Laxton is completely consumed by preparations for this hugely important weekend party. This gathering is pivotal for her social goals, especially her ambition to see her husband, Sir Peter, decked out in the scarlet uniform of a deputy lieutenant.
Right. That uniform is key. And the guest list is, formidable. You've got the Lord Chancellor himself. Lady Laxton describes trying to be friendly with him as rather like being easy and friendly with an elephant.
Huh.
She's intensely anxious, worrying about conversation, fearing Sir Peter might dismiss things like philosophy. She even wishes for a secretary to whisper hints in her ear.
Besides the Lord Chancellor, who else is coming? Big names.
Oh yeah, Lord John Woodenhouse, Slinker Bond, the Countess of Barracks, Mrs. Rampound Pilby the novelist, and Professor Timbray, the philosophy expert, probably invited just to talk to the Lord Chancellor.
Okay. And downstairs, this influx of important guests means disruption too, right? But in a different way.
Completely different. New valets and maids arrive. Bealby sees them appearing like slugs after rain, just sitting around, quiet, disliked. But Bealby's focus remains intensely personal. It's fixed on Thomas and the injustice of being hit. He's thinking about attacking Thomas with a carving knife, or maybe throwing a lighted lamp. Decides that Peter Inkpot doesn't have sufficient stopping power.
He's really thinking this through.
He is. Meanwhile, the guest of honor, Lord Moggridge, the Lord Chancellor, is having a truly awful time. He's constantly furrowing his brows, maybe showing the internal sea of silent blasphemies he's feeling.
Right.
He's being unusually careful with alcohol, fearing he might just explode if he relaxes. Trivial things annoy him, like Mrs. Rampound Pilby asking a simple question, how should I know? And he absolutely detests anything that seems like clowning.
And it's that aversion to clowning that leads to the flashpoint.
Exactly. Late at night, Lord Moggridge needs peace, privacy. He slips downstairs to Sir Peter's study, which smells strongly of Sir Peter, apparently to get cigars, whiskey, a tumbler. He's feeling, maybe for the first time all weekend, close to satisfaction.
What happens next is just pure accident, isn't it? But with huge consequences.
Monumental. He hears a noise described like the young of some large animal, drops his glass, trying to save the siphon bottle, and then runs directly into Bealby, who's fleeing from Thomas. Bealby has absolutely no clue he's just collided with the Lord Chancellor of England.
Wow.
And Lord Moggridge, completely consumed by his hatred of clowning and his suspicions, jumps instantly to the wrong conclusion. He assumes it's a prank, but Captain Douglas.
Captain Douglas. Who's he?
A cousin known for subtle practical jokes. Moggridge thinks it's a sham poltergeist gag linked to some old ragging scandal.
So, complete misunderstanding.
Total misunderstanding. And the scene Murgelson and Thomas find on the landing is just chaos. Broken glass, spilled whiskey, and the Lord Chancellor grappling with Murgelson, actually punching him. Murgelson tries to maintain decorum, but gets pulled backward over the Lord Chancellor.
Oh, my goodness.
Murgelson's report downstairs, the Lord Chancellor is going dotty.
And that's the spark.
That's the spark that ignites everything. Upstairs, guests are bewildered. Downstairs, the servants are buzzing about Bealby's disappearance, linking it somehow to the Lord Chancellor incident. Mr. Murgelson gets really uneasy when he checks Bealby's room, finds the bed hasn't been slept in.
Oh, dear.
Their immediate fear is he's hiding about upstairs after all this upset, may be connected to this rumor of a mad butler that's starting to spread.
The next morning, Lady Laxton must be, well, aghast.
Understandably. The source says she initially couldn't even pray, but then quickly becomes firm and masterful. And here's a key thing. Her reaction isn't just concern, it's fierce protection of reputation. She absolutely refuses to believe Bealby ran away, calls the idea wicked.
Why wicked? Because it reflects badly on Shonts.
Exactly.
Right.
A runaway implies a problem with the estate, or with her management. Her imagination, maybe fueled by reading about a recent colliery tragedy, convinces her he must be lost somewhere on the property. So she triggers this desperate search.
And this sudden frantic activity. Someone notices.
Oh, yes. Mr. Bealby Plummer. He's the estate agent for the Marquis of Cranberry, the actual owner of Shonts, and his job is basically to keep an eye on the Laxtons. He's alarmed by these dramatic changes unfolding.
What does he see?
He sees the first search efforts. Lady Laxton orders men out there raking the ornamental waters, but then things escalate dramatically. He sees a man with a pickaxe heading towards the historic Queen Elizabeth Tower.
No.
Resulting in what the source calls an alarming scar on the building.
Oh, dear.
Lady Laxton sticks to her story, though. Even visits Mrs. Darling to console her, presumably insisting Bealby hasn't run away, just tragically lost. She offers a big reward, an extraordinarily liberal overtime scale, and orders the digging at the tower base to continue all night.
Digging up the tower.
Digging up the tower base. Her regret is telling. She wishes she'd proved he hadn't run away earlier. This whole Shonts episode just shows how quickly panic and trying to control the story can lead to wildly irrational, destructive actions, all triggered by an accident and a runaway boy.
So while Shonts is descending into this frantic, misguided digging, Where is Bealby after colliding with the Lord Chancellor?
He escapes the immediate mess by hiding under a sofa. Then he explores the blue parlor, finds a priest hole, a cramped passage, eventually sees light. He has this really unsettling moment near a peephole where he hears this rich, masculine voice talking nearby, just yards away.
Who is it?
He doesn't know. It sounds like someone soliloquizing. It fills him with unease. He freezes, then creeps away, hearing his own heart and his slippered feet.
Okay, so he gets out.
He spends the night hiding, emerges into the park at dawn, sees Shonts looking beautiful in the morning light, but already showing signs of the disruption he caused, that strangely bandaged quality, the trench, the scaffolding. He grabs some mushrooms for breakfast as he makes his way out.
And then his journey takes him somewhere completely different.
Totally different. A stark contrast to Shonts. He's drawn by the sight and smell of cooking bacon and potatoes and discovers a caravan party.
Ah, the caravan. And this introduces the three ladies.
Yes. Mrs. Bowles, or Judy, dressed rather eccentrically, deer stalker, spats frying bacon. Then Madeleine Philips, beautiful blue dress, fair hair with a hint of red, the sweetest eyes in the world, an actress whose smile seems almost a habit, just radiant. And Mrs. Gedge, Winnie, simple gray dress, Norfolk jacket, black hair, unassuming, likes writing notes.
And Bealby's experience serving them, it's a revelation compared to Shonts.
Oh, completely. Unlike Shonts, where service was this resented duty, here he finds actual joy, pride, eagerness in helping. They see him immediately as a luckiest of finds, willing, elfin, quaintly artless.
And Madeleine especially has an effect on him.
Profound. He feels he'd die for her. He's utterly smitten, loses his breath, goes red when she talks to him.
There's that charming moment early on with the your ladyship thing.
Yes. His Shonts training kicks in. He almost calls Mrs. Bowles Miss, corrects it to your ladyship, and she gently tells him she's just a simple mum. He should say yes, mum. Everyone finds it really agreeable. It just highlights that shift from rigid hierarchy to something more informal, more appreciative.
And he makes himself useful pretty quickly.
Instantly indispensable, helping with washing up, polishing boots, tidying. He adores the caravan life, the people, especially Madeleine, hangs on Judy's words, makes no secret of his adoration for Madeleine. It just shows how quickly a different environment, one of appreciation, transforms his whole attitude to service.
But just as he finds this sort of haven, a problem arises, a practical one.
Yeah, a hurdle. He tentatively asks if he can stay, and Mrs. Bowles asks about good stout boots, because he'll need to walk alongside the caravan. And he realizes, with despair, he has no boots. And no luggage either. And this small, practical thing feels huge. He sinks into despair, thinks, it's all up. You must get a bag, and nothing on earth will get you a bag. Yeah. He's devastated, terrified of looking foolish in front of the beautiful woman in blue. It shows how fragile his newfound security really is.
But he finds a way. He's resourceful.
Necessity, right. He finds a village, a shop open on Sunday, manages to get brown paper and string for a makeshift bag, using meekness and respectfulness. He returns without the boots, though. Makes up a story about them being mended, his stepfather expecting him to buy new ones.
Does that work?
Mrs. Bowles is hesitant, but Madeleine's beautiful voice asks if he has a mother, showing this sudden, maybe compassionate curiosity. That seems to smooth things over.
And the caravan life itself, the source paints quite a picture.
It does. It romanticizes it a bit, the call of the road, being close to nature, cooking outdoors, but it also balances that with the realities. Lots of washing up, the anxious search for permission to camp, the surprising number of onlookers forgetting groceries.
Right, the practicalities.
Yeah, it's a proximity experience, tests friendships, but also very great fun. And initially, the ladies are free from their menfolk, which adds to that sense of freedom.
Then the menfolk arrive. Professor Bowles.
Judy's husband. He returns, described as controlling, gives Bealby a lively but instructive time with his intense personality. He even goes off trying to catch a cricket.
Okay.
Mr. Gedge, Winnie's husband, also turns up. Seems less dominant, more focused on golf.
And then, adding another layer, Captain Douglas arrives on his motorbike.
He's Captain Douglas, and his arrival links directly back to the chaos at Shonts. He's still operating under that mistaken belief about the Lord Chancellor, the mad butler, and thinks the missing boy Bealby is involved. He sees finding Bealby as his way to clear his own name with Lord Moggridge.
Captain Douglas sounds like quite a complex character himself.
He really is. Fascinated by mechanism and the why and how of things. Yeah. Interested in women, but his military background made him sort of impervious until Madeleine. She's become a career for him, a focus for his pent-up passions. It causes him both distress of being with her and distress of not being with her.
Intense.
Very. He's intellectual, ambitious in military science, reads serious stuff, like from mechanics institutes.
And his arrival shifts the dynamic again, especially with Madeleine.
Immediately. Her first reaction is, I told you not to come near me for a month, but her face is radiant. It just shows the complexity, the intensity of their relationship.
Then their meal gets interrupted. Spectacular.
Oh, yes, by a drunk golfer who just crashes their lunch trying to talk to Madeleine. Captain Douglas tries to step in, but then Bealby, showing his loyalty, pipes up with a brave but, frankly, ineffective. This is private.
Oh, bless him.
The golfer then fixates on Bealby, tries to catch him, ends up kicking over the kettle, the cooker, before Captain Douglas physically rescues the boy.
Chaos again.
Always chaos around Bealby, it seems. Later, Captain Douglas tries to explain it away, claiming the golfer was after the boy. And adding to the confusion, Professor Bowles gives this totally distorted account of the Shonts incident, claims the Lord Chancellor caught the mad butler, Murgelson, in a secret passage and beat him severely. Bealby hears this and is just completely baffled by how his actions have been twisted.
So Captain Douglas's arrival is another turning point for Bealby, emotionally.
Definitely. His little heart was smitten with desolation, seeing Madeleine's attention shift to the captain. But interestingly, watching the captain also plants a new seed, a fascination with mechanism, the passion for leather and oilskin. So even disappointment sparks a new interest.
The men then persuade the ladies to stay in a hotel.
Yes, the husbands and the captain cite camping inconveniences. Captain Douglas and Madeleine wander off together. This leaves Bealby feeling totally deserted, dejected.
He returns to the empty caravan.
Yes, described as a small, rueful, disillusioned, white-smeared little Bealby. With a heavy heart, feeling this irreparable loss, he decides to leave beautifully by tidying everything up. And the source notes how wonderfully he tidies Murgelson would be amazed. It's a moment of quiet dignity amidst his disappointment.
While he's tidying, he finds Madeleine's book.
A small volume of Swinburne, yes.
Yeah.
Then William, the driver, returns. Now, William is focused on stealing chocolates from Madeleine's bunk, and he thinks Bealby knows about it.
Oh, dear.
William's attempt to get the chocolates somehow triggers the caravan's brake or something, starts rolling downhill.
The crash.
The description is stark. The smash was tremendous. William is horrified. When the party returns from the hotel, they find total disaster. Reactions very aborted. Professor Bowles takes charge. Mrs. Gage actually giggles. Finds humor in it, apparently. Madeleine reacts with wonder. Professor Bowles quickly ends up grappling with William inside the wreckage.
And Bealby.
Bealby escapes in the chaos after the crash. Full of regret, leaving the caravan, the ladies. This is his first taste of a truly homeless world. The common feels unfriendly. He's scared of phantom gray wolves. A harsh dose of reality after that brief, lovely caravan interlude.
He then meets a tramp. What's he like?
Cuff-looking.
Yeah.
But initially, he talks about enjoying the wandering life, tells road stories. He's clearly envious of Bealby's luck with the caravan ladies. He romanticizes the tramp life, claims it's his choice.
But the reality is different.
Brutally different the next morning. The tramp is dirty, described as having had dealings of an intimate nature with coal and irritable. The Free Spirit Act vanishes. He immediately robs Bealby. Hand over what you got there, matey, searches him.
So much for the romance of the road.
Exactly. Bealby's internal reaction is strong rebellion against the tramp's whole vibe. His appearance, manners, ethical flavor, physical flavor. It's squalor and petty crime. The tramp tries to pressure Bealby into stealing. He says he hasn't got much guts.
Does Bealby give in?
No. He steadfastly refuses. I ain't gonna steal. It shows he still has this underlying moral code, even desperate.
Then there's that unsettling encounter at a cottage.
Very unsettling. They see a strange old man inside, fills Bealby with this vague terror. A woman arrives with a big black dog. The dog bites the tramp when Bealby runs off and distracts it.
Okay. What happens after the bite?
The tramp's behavior gets really erratic, disturbing. He rambles about hydrophobia, hating dogs, man's duty to hurt a dog. But the real horror for Bealby comes next. He realizes the strange old man in the cottage was dead.
Oh, wow.
It's the first time he saw a dead man. The image haunts him, a white figure presiding over his seas of dark dismay all night. It forces him to confront mortality, the darker side of the world he's stumbled into.
That must have terrified him.
Compounded by uncertainty, he's asking himself, where am I going? What am I drifting to? He dreads dawn, fears the tramp, worries about being seen as a burglar. He even considers turning King's evidence, basically. Telling the police about the tramp to save himself shows the desperation.
How does he get away from the tramp?
His chance comes the next morning. The tramp puts on this act of artificial epilepsy for a kind-looking old gentleman who comes out of a cottage with a watering can and syringe, clearly meaning to help. While the tramp's performing, Bealby just slips away, grabs his chance.
Right, so he heads towards Crayminster.
Yes. On the way, he sees a missing poster. £5 reward for Arthur Bealby himself. He tears it down. He's starving, goes into a refreshment shop in Crayminster, but feels hunted, claustrophobic, feels the shop might be a trap.
And he gets spotted?
By the baker. His attempt to escape through a supposed back way fails. The baker gives chase, shouts, alerts others, and this chaotic pursuit erupts through the village. Baker, hedger, grocer's assistant, even the tramp reappears. Workmen join in.
A whole mob.
Pretty much. In desperation, Bealby climbs onto a roof, starts throwing tiles down at them, specifically aiming for the tramp. He manages to escape the immediate crowd by getting into Mr. Benshaw's market gardens.
Ah, Mr. Benshaw. Introduce us to him. He sounds memorable.
Oh, he is. Described as a sturdy English yeoman, fiercely anti-socialist, a self-helper, incredibly independent. His main frustration in life seems to be trespassers and footpaths, especially the school path across his land. He's obsessed with cheap, ugly, painful fencing ideas, cinders, chalky clay, fantasizes about barbed wire with extra spurs to injure people.
Good grief.
He feels constantly wronged, mentions past trouble about pheasant shooting. He's basically a powder keg of grievance about property rights.
So the chase spilling into his garden, that's the spark for him.
Exactly. The mob breaks his hedges, tramples his crops. Benshaw sees Mumby, a draper he dislikes, in the crowd, and jumps to another mistaken conclusion. He thinks they're asserting some new right-of-way across his land, instigated by Mumby.
So he explodes.
Completely. He furiously attacks Mumby with a hoe, defending his property. General pandemonium breaks out, people trampling his precious strawberries. And Bealby uses this chaos to slip away unnoticed.
Does Benshaw ever find out it was about Bealby?
Later, yes. He learns about the reward, and someone lies, that Bealby was stealing fruit. This just validates his fury, focuses it on the crop damage. The tramp is found amidst the mess, claiming he was only helping, but gets ordered off the property by both Benshaw and another man, Rymel. Told there are no jobs for him, it's the Battle of Crayminster.
Yeah.
A pure absurdity fueled by misunderstandings and grudges.
Where does Bealby hide after escaping that?
Finds refuge in a disused-looking shed in Benshaw's gardens, full of old horticultural stuff, calcium carbide tins, broken wheelbarrows. Hiding there, he actually has a moment of reflection.
Really? What does he think?
Looks back on his journey, his mistakes. Thinks he should have tried more at Shonts. Regrets using the toasting fork earlier. He acknowledges his current state. A hunted burglar with a reward. Penniless. The early dreams feel distant. He wishes he could rewind time.
That night, Benshaw is out searching, with his unusual weapon.
Yes, Mr. Benshaw and his hired man are out searching the gardens with a shotgun loaded with oats, looking for trespassers, fruit thieves.
Oats? Seriously?
Seriously. And Bealby, hiding in the shed, witnesses this. He also sees the tramp trying to sneak back into the shed. The tramp gets shot with oats by Benshaw. Bealby hears him yell. Here's the second shot and more yelling. It's darkly funny, but shows the absurd lengths Benshaw goes to.
Meanwhile, let's catch up with Captain Douglas. What's he been doing?
After leaving Madeleine, he's been diligently trying to find Bealby. Finds locals civil but evasive. He realizes he needs a more systematic approach, a sweeping movement. He stops at a pub, asks about the boy, gets descriptions resolute-looking, a thunder and vicious little varmint.
And he learns about Benshaw's oat gun.
Crucially, yes. He learns Mr. Benshaw is hunting the boy with oats, intending to pepper him.
But Douglas is also struggling internally, right?
Massively. His military sense of duty pushes him to find Bealby, clear his name with Mogridge after Shonts. But that's constantly fighting his overwhelming obsession with Madeleine. He calls himself a fool, a laggard, a dastard for being so consumed. He's trying to reconcile these two driving forces.
Then something forces a change. A mechanical failure.
Yes, a small thing with big consequences. His motor bicycle tire bursts. Massive report. Forces him to stop. And this physical halt leads to a mental breakthrough. Unable to move forward, he's forced to confront his internal state. He frankly admitted himself overtaken, feels in the presence of a lesson.
A moment of clarity.
Exactly. Questions he'd neglected in the haste and excitement of modern life suddenly clamor who he was, what he was, the meaning of his struggles. He recognizes the disorder within himself, calls it an epilepsy of his own will. This forced pause allows for some deep self-assessment.
And this reflection leads to a realization about Madeleine.
A critical one. He sees her as a limelight lover, a woman specialized for excitement who relies upon exciting me. It's quite a harsh judgment, but after thinking it through, it leads to his epoch-making declaration. I won't.
A rejection of that dynamic.
A powerful self-reassertion. He rejects the performative nature of their relationship. His mind achieves almost violent lucidity. He reflects on this sex stuff, admits he kept it under too tight before letting it rip too loose with Madeleine. Dismisses the lover business as not a man's work, a rotten game of being played off against others. His resolve is firm. Put women in their places, metaphorically chew his knuckle. It's a major personal pivot away from romantic obsession towards his own purpose.
And it's right at this moment of intense internal shift. Chance intervenes again.
Perfectly timed. As Captain Douglas sits by the road, having this epiphany, Bealby, still trying to escape capture for the reward, rolls down a bank and lands directly at his feet.
You're kidding!
Nope, right at his feet. The captain's reaction is immediate, decisive. Described as like a whistling sword, his clarity translates straight into action. New plan. Take Bealby directly to the Lord Chancellor in London. He reassures Bealby, nothing at all, Bealby. You trust me. All you've got to do is to tell the simple truth.
So off to London. How's the journey?
Exhilarating, apparently, if rough. In the motorcycle trailer, they went past everything. Captain Douglas lowing deeply with his great horn. Bealby feels huge relief, thinks it'll all be sorted now. The captain also finds it thrilling, feels like he's finally getting to something, achieving a success that maybe, ironically, given his recent thoughts, he still imagines showing Madeleine.
In London, they need help getting to the Lord Chancellor. They bring in a general.
Yes, General Lord Chickney. The source paints him colorfully. Picturesque, big mustaches, likes autographs, copies scripture, involved in patriotic societies pushing compulsory training. Even for dogs and ponies.
Okay, quite the character.
Chickney agrees to intervene, arrange the meeting with Lord Moggridge.
And Moggridge. How is he doing back in London?
Back in his routine, seemingly okay, enjoying his chops, maybe slightly ruffled by some letters, possibly from a Dr. Schiller. His valet, Candler, tells him Lord Chickney's been calling persistently, making it a personal matter, adding that Chickney mumbles rather now his back teeth have gone.
So the meeting happens thanks to Chickney. How does it go?
Moggridge is clearly impatient. Captain Douglas tries to explain the whole Shonts mess, using Bealby as proof he wasn't the practical joker. Presents Bealby as the key witness. The steward's boy from Shonts. He made the trouble for you and me, and then he ran away.
And Moggridge's reaction.
Dismissive skepticism. He calls Bealby a trickster. And in that single moment, seeing his whole explanation just fall flat, Captain Douglas has this final, overwhelming realization.
What does he realize?
The nearly inconceivable foolishness of the whole entanglement. His obsession with Madeleine, the idea that love is the supreme thing. He sees how dividing his focus between reputation and passion led him into this absurd, ruinous position.
So his earlier epiphany solidifies.
Absolutely. A sudden, powerful resolve takes hold. He decides to just abandon the entire mess, vehemently declares he will cut the whole of this Bealby business.
And his exit? Is it quiet?
Anything but. As dramatic as his entrance. Rushes out, navigates past Moggridge's inconveniently placed bag, struggles onto his motorbike, has several near misses with traffic, destroys a flower stall.
Destroys a flower stall.
Apparently. Escapes with almost apoplectic concentration. He's not just leaving the meeting, he's fleeing the entire situation, finally committing to disentangling himself.
Wow. So what happens to Bealby after all that?
His wild adventure ends with a train journey back to Shonts. The source says he's rather hastily and ignominiously reprieved, maybe with a hint of benediction from Lord Chickney's help.
Does he return changed? Wiser?
Yes, with a new perspective, a dawning wisdom. He's learned adventures aren't always fun, that the social system has dangerous and disagreeable holes. He's glad to be away from the tramp in Crayminster, still a bit sorry about the beautiful lady, still perplexed, but his immediate practical thought is whether his mother might make toast for tea.
Practical concerns went out.
Pretty much. He calculates that returning to the gardens is more likely to yield food than his windowless bedroom under the stairs. As he crosses the park, he sees something new, a long, deep trench that's very ugly, a physical reminder of the chaos he left behind.
And the house itself, Shonts.
Changed, too. It has a strangely bandaged quality, one tower swathed in scaffolding, looking like a black eye. He can only wonder what exactly happened while he was gone, the full extent of the upheaval, triggered by his simple decision to just not go into service.
What an incredible journey this has been. just tracing the path of one young boy's single act of rebellion, refusing to be a servant, and seeing how it just cascaded. Chaos at the estate, a frantic, misguided search.
Bizarre encounters with caravanners, tramps, furious property owners.
That chaotic village battle,
Hmm.
even culminating in that London showdown that forces a captain into an existential crisis.
It really starkly demonstrates how quickly plans can unravel and how those deviations can unexpectedly shine a light on the world and the people in it. You see their hidden motivations, Lady Laxton's social anxiety, Moggridge's hatred of silliness, Benshaw's property fixation, Captain Douglas's internal
Their
battles,
quirks, their limits.
their surprising capacity for irrational or dramatic action, all triggered by something as small as a dropped glass or a boy running away.
It really makes you think about the layers of hidden drama just constantly unfolding beneath the surface of everyday life. The deep dives happening in people's own worlds, the untold stories behind the physical scaffolding or the emotional trench you might see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how sometimes it takes a disruption, even the chaos inadvertently caused by a young boy, just wanting freedom to bring those hidden layers right to the surface for everyone to see.
So that leaves us with a thought for you, listening. What unexpected holidays or disruptions, big or small, might reveal the hidden layers and surprising truths in your own world?
Worth pondering.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We hope you found these insights from the source material as fascinating as we did.